First Corinthians chapter 2, verses 6 through 10a. We do, however, speak a message of wisdom among the mature, but not the wisdom of this age or of the rulers of this age, who are coming to nothing. No, we declare God's wisdom, a mystery that has been hidden, and that God destined for our glory before time began. None of the rulers of this age understood it, for if they had, they would not have crucified the Lord of glory. However, as it's written, what no eye has seen, what no ear has heard, what no human mind has conceived, the things God has prepared for those who love him. These are the things that God has revealed to us by his Spirit. So as we come to this text, we should remember what's come before it, that Paul has said over and over again that he did not come in wisdom and eloquence, not in wise words or an eloquent speech. And so when we come to this, we immediately see that this right here, but not the wisdom of this age or of the rulers of this age, that connects with what he was talking about before, right? That is that worldly man-produced wisdom. And we know that that is not what Paul is making reference to. It is a new kind of wisdom that he's introducing. He says, we do, however. That's how we know it's not this kind of wisdom. He's got the however in here. We do, however, speak a message of wisdom. Okay, Paul, so if you're not using worldly wisdom, whose wisdom are you using? Well, verse 7 gives us the answer. We declare God's wisdom, a mystery that has been hidden and that God destined for our glory before time began. So I want to just draw a couple things to your attention, and we'll come back and we'll explore all of these. But we declare God's wisdom, a mystery that's been hidden. There's one thing that God has done, and that God destined for our glory. That's a second thing that God has done. None of the rulers of the age understood it, for if they had, they would not have crucified the Lord of glory. However, as it's written, what no eye has seen and no ear heard, and what no human mind has conceived, the things God has prepared for those who love him. There's a third one for us. These are the things that God has revealed to us by his Spirit. 4. So we've got God destining, we've got God hiding, God preparing, and God revealing. And we'll unpack all of that as we go through. Let's talk for a moment back to this worldly wisdom. So it's not the wisdom that Paul speaks, but the wisdom of this age, the wisdom of this age, or of the rulers of this age. And Paul is bringing our mind back to the rulers so that we think about, those who are powerful and those who are high-born, and saying it's not the wisdom of this age, it's not the wisdom of the rulers of this age. And then he says this, who are coming to nothing. Who are coming to nothing. The wisdom of the age and the rulers of the age are coming to nothing. And we have to ask ourselves why, right? Why are they coming to nothing? What is being done that these things are coming to nothing? And he kind of connects that. I'm going to skip over 7. He kind of connects that here with verse 8, right? They're going to come to nothing because none of the rulers of the age understood it, as they didn't understand it here as back to God's wisdom. None of the rulers of this age understood God's wisdom. If they had, they would not have crucified the Lord of glory. The reason that they're coming to nothing is that they've crucified Jesus, right? Instead of reaching out to Jesus for help and salvation, they're the ones who crucified him. So this worldly wisdom, the wisdom of the age, we need to remember what's happening to it. The rulers of the age, we need to remember what's happening to them. We have their end right here. They're coming to nothing. The proof is the rejection of Jesus Christ, the Lord of glory. right? If they knew what real glory was, they wouldn't have rejected Jesus, but they don't. So he's doing that. That's one thing that Paul is doing in here. He's unpacking wisdom of God versus wisdom of man. We see the wisdom of man. Let's unpack the wisdom of God. We speak a message of wisdom among the mature. I want to come back to this word right here in a second. He says, "No, we declare God's wisdom." And let's understand a little bit about God's wisdom. Number one, we see that it's a mystery. God defines his own wisdom as a mystery. It's not a thing that men are able to understand. And that's because God has hidden it. He has hidden it from men. We are not able to know God on our own. And though it is hidden, it is also destined. So it's not to be hidden forever from all people for all eternity. In fact, it's to be for our glory. He destined it for our glory before time began. Before God said, "Let there be light," he already had this plan that wisdom would be revealed and it would be for our glory. Now, that's a big deal. What sort of wisdom could bring about our own glory? And of course it's Christ, right? This is ultimately what we have. Before time began, Jesus, the wisdom of God, Jesus, the one who is really for, not that his ultimate purpose is for our glory, but he makes us glorious. None of the rulers of the age understood it. We already did that. They wouldn't have crucified Jesus. However, as it's written, going back to now this mystery, this thing hidden by God, this mystery and the wisdom, they connect right here to Isaiah. Isaiah is the one, and this is Paul's taking kind of this section from one passage and rewording another section to get this passage, and he's putting it all together, which makes us sometimes feel squirrely, but actually not a big deal, pretty common in the New Testament actually. And he says, "What no eye has seen." So we've seen to the edges of, well, we've seen into the darkest parts of space, seen galaxies millions of light years away. He says, "What no eye has seen, what no ear has heard, and what no human mind has conceived." So he goes with these two and he talks about our experience. And then in this next one, experience, and in this next one, he talks about our imagination. And in both, in our experience and in our imagination, they have a limit. There is a limit to what knowledge we can have. There's a limit to what we can know by experience, by study. And then there's a further limit of what we can imagine. And Paul says that beyond that, the things God has prepared for those who love him. The wisdom that God has hidden, he's prepared it for those who love him. And the thing that we need to jump to most immediately in this is Christ. And ultimately, that fulfillment for us is having Christ and knowing Christ. But verse 10 tells us even more. It says, "These are the things God has revealed to us by his Spirit." So the number one thing, of course, that the Spirit reveals is Christ. Christ, the wisdom of God. Christ, the power of God. But it doesn't stop there, right? By the Spirit, we are able to understand many things about God. We get to continue to study the Bible, of course, which testifies to Christ, but it also gives us everything we need for life and godliness. So there is a deep, deep well of wisdom and of revelation and of treasure, really, that we gain by the Spirit. And then Paul, going all the way back to the beginning here, this wisdom is among the mature. And he just reminds us that there are foolish Christians, and we can all be foolish from time to time. We can all be that foolish Christian. And the foolish Christian, though he or she has the Spirit, instead of operating on worldly wisdom, instead of operating on God's wisdom like they should be, we should all be operating on God's wisdom. The foolish Christian does not operate on God's wisdom. The foolish Christian keeps acting on the wisdom of the age. And so when the Corinthians were loving Apollos and Paul and Peter for worldly reasons, according to worldly wisdom, Paul is really calling them foolish Christians. The mature, however, I know you can't see anything now. Let me just erase this. Sorry, but the mature, they don't operate on the wisdom of the age. The mature operate on God's wisdom. The mature operate on what the Spirit teaches them. Okay, so the mature have a great relationship with the Spirit. The mature understand God's wisdom. And just to wrap this all up, this passage right here, savor it, memorize it, really enjoy it. That God has prepared for you things that are great and good and wonderful that even go beyond the scope of human understanding and human imagination. And that's a wonderful gift that God has destined for us before time began, not just for His glory, but also for ours. What a blessing.